Hello, dear viewer. I'm assuming that you read the title of this video, so let's just get to it, shall we?
Mouse movement detected.
So, here we are at the beginning of the game. Typically, people would skip the tram ride when they're doing videos such as this one, but what I do here actually does matter. You see, we're currently in a train. Whenever the train turns, Gordon will also turn because he is standing on it. But if you jump in the air as it's turning, you won't turn with it. So, if you jump while the train is turning to the left, you effectively turn to the right. We will use this fact to turn 90 degrees to the right. This will allow us to hit a button to call this elevator. And now I will spend a very long time turning on this elevator. You may notice that it doesn't really make sense that I can hit this button. Yeah, Half-Life just lets you use buttons through walls. It's pretty silly, but it helps us out here.
I'm afraid we'll be deviating a bit from standard analysis procedures today, Gordon.
Yeah, we're going to be using an old speedrun trick where you get a scientist stuck in this door. Actually, the insertion is also pretty non-standard. I'm holding E, S, and A at the same time, which, well, it makes it move like that. Now I have to avoid being teleported. When I get teleported, it changes my angle as well, and I don't want that. So I'm going to go and stand in this room. When you're in this room, you just are not teleported. So now I have my original angle, which means that I can use the eye scanner, which leads to the door opening. So now we do some more elevator shenanigans, which will allow us to hit this glass with the crowbar. The rest of Unforeseen Consequences went pretty smoothly. Since we can't use the mouse, you basically have to move around in order to aim to hit enemies. I was only part of the way through Office Complex when I realized that grenades were going to be necessary. Grenades hit everything in an area around them, so they're very useful for hitting things that I cannot reach. The earliest place we can get grenades is back in Unforeseen Consequences, so I load a save and go all the way back. You may have noticed that my angle has changed. Scattered throughout this area are a bunch of doors, and when you collide with a door, it will spin you around in the direction that the door is rotating. We're actually about to use one of these doors in order to rotate ourselves so we can hit the two elevator buttons. You want to be looking away from the door so that it opens towards you. If the door opens away from you, you'll accomplish basically nothing with it. Like I said before, we can grab things through walls, so the elevator button on the other side of the wall isn't a problem. This is a thing you can do, by the way. Now we have to deal with this electrical rod. You're supposed to turn off a power supply in order to prevent it from hurting you as you pass by, but we will be doing the speedrunner strategy called not caring. With the angle that I'm at, the only way I can hit this window is with a grenade. Same thing here. And these head crabs. Another grenade on this vent. For those who don't know, grenades will inherit a bit of your speed, so since I'm moving to the right while throwing the grenade, it lets me get the grenade into position faster and lets me have more time to get away from the blast. There was also a sloped surface behind me, which I was able to surf on to get extra speed despite having to crawl. Fighting the Vortigaunts was not at all easy. They don't exactly miss, and I was already on very low health.
Try this.
Finally, we reach We've Got Hostiles. It only took 90 minutes. I'm sure most people watching this know about the We Got Hostiles skip where you just skip the entire chapter, but I don't know how to do it, especially without mouse movement, so we just do the entire thing regularly. It pretty much went down without a hitch. The angle we came in at was perfect actually, and the enemies were not really much trouble. I've done this before in other games, so I have pretty good experience. In Blast Pit, we intentionally do not take the tram because it would mess up the angle. Inside the silo, there's one door that we can't go through, but we don't need this door. We'll open this door now and then come back to it later. For now, we're going over to the power generator to turn it on. Inside the room with the power generator are some spinny things. Spinny things are good. Once the power is on, we'll leave the area rotated 180 degrees. On our way back, the water is electrified, so we need a new path, and another path already exists. Now we have to go over to the fuel and oxygen buttons, and this is quite fun. First we're gonna go and get some grenades from up here, and then we're gonna bounce one off of this tentacle to hope that it lands in just the right spot so that it can break the wood boards that are blocking the doorway. The next obstacle was a vent cover, and this one was above me. The crowbar is no help here. I'm not pointed up far enough. What I ended up doing is not the only thing I could have done, but it's definitely the easiest. When a grenade hits something, it does a tiny bit of damage to it, even though it doesn't explode yet. So this is what I did. It took all of my grenades to do this, but right after this there's a grenade stash, so it's completely fine. And now we're ready to push the fire button, which we will push through the wall. And for those who didn't know, you are safe from the fire inside the main chamber, because video games. In the next area, we must swim through a large body of water. Fortunately, Half-Life comes with dedicated commands for swimming up and down. We're going to rotate 180 degrees on this fan. Let me explain why. When the time comes for on a rail, we will need a train. The electrified water at the beginning will be very hard to get through otherwise, and there are many other obstacles in this chapter which will be much easier to deal with if we have a train on our hands. This forces us to actually go and retrieve the train from the chapter power-up, which means we need to press this power button here, and there's no way to cheese this button. You need to actually face towards it. In order to do that, you have 4 options. There are some double doors which I could have possibly used, but I didn't yet understand the tidbit about looking away from doors, so at the time I didn't know how to use them effectively. There's another door by these coil machines, but it's blocked off by a gate that only opens after pressing the very button that we're trying to press. This platform here seems like the obvious choice, but for whatever reason this thing just doesn't rotate you. And so this fan here is the next best thing. There are trip mines below, so I throw a grenade just to blow them up safely. On the way back up, 2 soldiers crushed themselves or something. I didn't really get to see what happened. In order to hit the final switch to turn on the power, we'll use this door over here. We have to be careful about how we touch this door as it spins us though. If you're not careful, you can get trapped. And now, finally, we can use this train. Although this platform itself won't rotate us, the train on the platform will. Power up all around was not very bad, except for the fact it took 2.5 hours. Anyway, like I said, the train will come in very handy here. Just like with the train at the beginning of the game, we can use this to turn however we want. We need to find a way to reach this lever. It is being blocked by a box and a turret that I cannot look at. I definitely could have dealt with this in a smarter way. When it's your first time dealing with the problem, you don't always come up with the best ideas, but at least it looked cool. At the end of Apprehension, there's a problem that could have killed the run. At the beginning of this cutscene, you lose all of your weapons. You cannot escape the room that you are dropped into unless you break a vent, but the only tool that you have to break that vent is a crowbar. But at this point, a crowbar is completely worthless. You can't point yourself down far enough to make use of it. But there just so happens to be a way that you can smuggle in a grenade. By running the game at certain frame rates, you can make weird things happen. So here's what we're gonna do. Set the FPS to 4, go in the room, and then quickly come back out. This will take away our weapons, but we can still control Gordon, and we can now go get some more grenades. These grenades will carry over through the cutscene.
Where are we taking this Freeman guy? Outside for questioning.
It's a good thing somebody else found that, or I'd be up the creek. The next 2 chapters went pretty smoothly. They were kind of tricky, but nothing crazy. Surface tension was a lovely time. At the dam, I tried to jump down to the ground safely, but I just couldn't figure it out. I think I know what I could have done differently now, but it's too late. I ended up going the intended route of opening up the gate underwater. As I did that, the ichthyosaur in the water ended up knocking my aim downwards. I decided to roll with this because I didn't really know what else I was going to do. The minefield was easy, which is not really a surprise. The cliffside was absolutely hell. I'm going to give you a very abbreviated version of it. The helicopter pretty much ignored me the whole way up, and I'm not complaining. Killing everybody in the courtyard after that is very difficult. Eventually I get it done though. After that, we need to push a button to open a door, so we're going to ride on this tank's shaft and have it very slowly rotate us around. At first, it would appear that this elevator button cannot be pushed from behind, but this is not so. Once you actually go into the area that you're supposed to push it from, it magically begins working from all sides, and it's not very difficult to get back out of here. Normally you would open this door using a mounted gun, but you can actually open it however you want as long as you have the necessary firepower. Yes, I just used trip mines on snarks. And now it's time for us to perform Half-Life Speedrunning's most important trick, the infinite health door glitch. On this map, there are two very special doors. When a player is blocking a door, they will be hurt by a certain amount for every frame they are blocking the door. The damage per frame varies from door to door, and the amount of damage dealt by these two doors is -1. When you block these doors, you will be healed for 1 point of health every frame. Unlike other sources of health, this one is bugged, and it will not stop at 100 health. You can use this to get as much health as you want. That's great and all, but how do we actually get stuck in the door? Oh, like this. If you've seen Half-Life speedruns before, you've probably seen that the health counter will usually go between 0 and 255 constantly, but this is not what happens in the latest version of the game. The health counter will just stop at 255. This means I have no idea what my actual health is. I had no idea how long I should stay on the door, so I just stayed on for however long felt right. Even with that done, I still had to escort this security guard over to the other door, otherwise I would have no way out. He insisted on killing a certain alien grunt, but we got through it.
Got one!
Forget About Freeman went pretty smoothly. I could pretty much just walk by anything because I had so much health. Oh yeah, barnacles can still kill you instantly, because they're the most powerful beings on Earth apparently. Slowly but surely we would get through this maze of bullshit. In this place I noticed that there were some spinny thingies, so I tried rotating myself with them, and they ate through my health very quickly. Without the ability to move my mouse, it was a legitimate possibility that I could lose it all. But eventually I figured out what I had to do here as well. The teleporting part went perfectly well. Getting teleported forces my angle to a set one, so at least now I don't have to worry about choosing a bad angle. And finally, we reached the scientists at the opposite end of the base. Here I do yet another speedrunning trick. It's very simple. Throw a snark into the teleporter and then jump in. The snark will disable the kill trigger for half a second, allowing you to go straight to the teleport trigger.
Shame on you,
The first map of Zen was hard. I couldn't jump straight down because I wanted to conserve my health. In Gonark, I use yet another speedrunning trick where you just blow open the final hole yourself. Interloper was just Interloper. There really isn't much to say. On C4A1D, my health started going back below 255. All that damage was starting to add up. I had to be more careful from now on. And now for the final boss, Nihilanth. The most important thing is that I avoid his teleporting attack. If you get touched by this green ball, it teleports you to a different place. I'm not going to go through these places because they won't really help me at all. You can avoid the attack by shooting the balls with certain things or just taking cover. The first order of business is to destroy his healing crystals. There's no way to rotate to aim at them, so we're going to have to use some clever positioning. I jump up using the big jump pad and then use charged shots from the Gauss gun to hit the walls behind me at an angle. This will push me over to the left side of the chamber. From there I can destroy these two crystals, and the last one is just a simple jump up. And now I just had to kill him. I shot him, and I shot him, and I shot him, but the final blow came from one of the other aliens that was floating around. In the end, friendly fire is what got it done. What a life he lived. A half-life.